Did you get a chance to watch Squid Game? Squid Game is a South Korean series available on Netflix, and that is taking the world by storm. It has become a smashing hit and is at the top spot in several countries including India. The makers and the cast are in the limelight continuously. Netflix is experiencing a streaming boom resulting in more subscribers and revenue. The audience are also deeply hooked to the show, and one can't miss the discussions about the show on the internet as well as offline life. The show has driven up the volume of several brands as people are rushing to get their Squid Game looks. The sales of one sneakers worn by the cast in the show has shot up by 7,800% since the show's debut. Needless to say, this show seems to have made everyone excited except one: the internet providers. They are unhappy with the huge surge in internet traffic caused due to the show's streaming. A South Korean broadband company, SK Broadband, has already taken Netflix to the court, asking them to compensate for the traffic that flows through them. We could expect similar moves in various other countries as well, because this demand is not a new one. This friction between the internet providers and the streaming companies like Netflix has been going on for some time. In this video, I explain how streaming sites like Netflix bring the content home and the issues faced by the internet service providers. Thank you for watching this video. I want to make your time worthwhile. I could keep making this content better with your inputs. Please leave your comments and they would be really helpful to do that. And if you like what you are watching, you could also subscribe to my channel. It would be encouraging to see more takers for my content. Thanks again, and I'm Praveen. Let me explain the process through which the Netflix content reaches us. The internet is a global system of interconnected devices. Users are connected to one another through internet service providers or ISPs. These ISPs help the movement of data through the networks for a charge. Airtel is an ISP, for example. The ISPs are connected to one another in every country. They are also connected to a larger network called the internet backbone, which are laid by governments and educational institutions. These networks are cross-border and connect countries with one another. Also, there are undersea cables to connect continents. Internet companies like Netflix, Facebook, Google transmit a large volume of data. They use their ISPs to send their content, and their ISPs connect with the other ISPs to bring series like Squid Game to our devices. In this arrangement, Netflix ISP doesn't necessarily pay charges to the other ISPs. Rather, they have a mutual agreement called peering, which enables a free movement back and forth. In Netflix's case, the downstream ISPs don't get to send the same amount of data up compared to the volume that is coming from Netflix. That is understandable. When you use Netflix on your phone, you download more data compared to the upload. So the downstream ISPs are always at a disadvantage, as this agreement is a little one-sided. And that explains why they are complaining. Netflix came up with their own idea of addressing this problem. They developed a network called Open Connect. By this, they started placing their content locally at many locations across the globe, closer to the ISPs. When Netflix buys the rights for Squid Game, they don't stream that from North America alone. They send a copy of the series to all the Open Connect locations during off-peak hours. They do this for all the titles available in the library. So, Squid Game doesn't have to flow through undersea cables every time someone streams it in Australia. Rather, the local ISPs have the content next to them and they stream it locally. This is a relatively inexpensive option for the ISPs, and this also prevents clogging the main backbone of the internet. So, did this solve the problem? Not really. Netflix built this Open Connect as early as 2011, but the complaints from the ISPs still remain. See the money involved here. Netflix pays for the content and bills the revenue from the audience subscription. ISPs pay for the infrastructure and also generate revenue from the user subscription fees. But the ISPs feel that they are spending disproportionately large amounts here because they need to build the network infrastructure and it is expensive. Look at this like a highway which is free to use by all vehicles. What if the highway gets clogged by one type of vehicle alone? Say large trucks, leaving no room for more important vehicles, say ambulances and public transports. People would stop using the highway unless the highway authority does something about it. Highway authority could restrict the movement of trucks, but then the customers of those trucks would be unhappy. They are large customers after all. Or they could build a dedicated lane for which they would need money, which they think the truck company should pay for. Do you get it who the truck companies and the highway authority are? This problem is not faced by Netflix alone. It is common across streaming companies like Amazon Prime, Disney Hotstar, and gaming websites too. Post-COVID, as people are staying at homes more, there has been an exponential increase in streaming. This has caused an extreme traffic surge on the internet. Nearly 80% of the internet traffic comes through Netflix, YouTube, and Facebook. Isn't the argument by the ISPs fair then? There is a strong case against this, and that is the other side of the story. It is called net neutrality. Net neutrality is a principle that all internet traffic should be treated the same. There is a set of rules adopted with variations by the countries, but the essence is the same. No discrimination by content. This sounds fair, doesn't it? As a user, you will determine what is important to you. If Squid Game is important to you, you should be allowed to access it and stream it at the same speed as some educational content on the internet. So users' choices would be throttled in a space without net neutrality. And then comes fairness, the most important aspect of net neutrality. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India ruled in favor of net neutrality in 2016. However, there were a few proposals like Airtel Zero and Facebook's Free Basics before that. The idea was the same. They would offer the internet for free. To be precise, they proposed to offer access to some websites for free. Imagine what this would have done to connectivity. It would have made the internet or some size of the internet accessible to millions of people who could never afford to pay. This is a powerful proposition unless seen through another angle. Airtel would decide what those sites are. For instance, Flipkart was on board Airtel Zero initially. Imagine being subtly nudged towards Flipkart instead of Amazon, thereby indirectly controlling your shopping. I hope you get the point. Net neutrality ensures that all information is available for the customers to make the choice. However, in a streaming era, it makes sense to build a dedicated infrastructure for streaming. It is like having a dedicated lane for the trucks on the highway. Remember, highways also have tolls which are different for different classes of vehicles. Just that distinguishing the vehicle type is easier compared to the internet content. I want to reiterate how important it is to look at both sides of the argument here. But we could tell one thing for sure. Large corporations don't really care about net neutrality. They care about profits. When Airtel and Facebook proposed free or selectively free internet, they were not proposing a philanthropic endeavor. It was a business strategy. When Netflix proposes that all content be treated the same, they don't care about the discrimination. They are only interested in escaping the additional costs. But when it becomes an existential threat, they would of course start breaking their own policy. They did that by agreeing to pay the ISPs in the US for the first time in 2014. It is only a matter of how hard they are pushed. They might open up their wallets to pay the ISPs instead of shutting down their business. What are your views here? Let me know in the comments.